Humanity has been familiar with street art in its most diverse manifestations from time immemorial, and the tradition of using cities as a means of communication remains to this very day. Though it did change over time, adjusting to the cultural specifics of society and transforming itself into entire artistic trends. In Generation UA, Ukrainian street art artists will explain how to turn residential districts of cities into open-air galleries. Muralism is a monumental art. It appeared a long time ago. Basically, it appeared when they started building temples. This type of art implies the application of paint indoors in various ways.
Картина, которая вписана в архитектуру.
This is art that combines with architecture. It appeared in Ukraine around 10th century, when they started to erect lots of temples, so that could be painting icons, frescoes on wood, as well as muralism. The modern variations are all kinds of paints: acrylic, water-soluble, synthetic, so there's plenty of variety. Like everything else, it develops slowly in our country, with a delay of several decades. I think there are many talented young people, but they all have their own style or want to develop one. Some draw inspiration exclusively from fashion. They strive more towards that, but it can change, and they are not developing their own styles. Some follow a purely academic path, but that means books established over the years, with lots of templates. I've always been drawing something for as long as I can remember. I got some paper, a pen and pencils, and I started drawing. I kept drawing all the time in school and the academy. Sometimes I got so distracted that I wouldn't hear or notice anything around me. I had a group of friends at school. They were into hip-hop, they watched something. There were thematic magazines with foreign and Ukrainian works from different cities. Then we began looking for opportunities on how to start doing that. That is, why don't I start drawing graffiti too, if I already draw? Our budget was meagre when we began. Our opportunities were scarce when it came to finding paint or something, but we were keen. What I most likely like street art for the most is the fact that it's an open art. Anyone can see it, and they're going to see it whether or not they want to. It's a kind of open gallery. It's all began in my childhood. I just loved drawing all kinds of things in notebooks. I think everyone went through this stage, but then I gradually got more involved. When I entered college after the 9th grade, a friend of mine introduced me to a person who worked with graffiti. We started our work somewhere in 2004. We started buying spray paint and doing graffiti. I've been really into it since then.
В принципе, вот с тех лет и, наверное, так увлекся этим делом. Вот эти цветы фиолетовые, их надо будет затемнить, но будем темно-фиолетовым делать. Ты говоришь, он у тебя есть, да, темно-фиолетовый? Ну, супер. А это трафаретом делаем. Учился я не совсем...
My degree does not relate to my profession, which is much more interesting to me. In short, I'm a builder, a civil engineer. I spent every lecture drawing in my notebook.
Как давно я стал художником, да?
When did I become an artist? Most likely when I was born. I've been attracted to it for as long as I can remember.
Было любимым делом, потом пошло хип-хоп.
Then came the hip-hop movement. It became popular and I began to get into it. Then the hobby turned into a profession. I started doing it professionally, buying professional equipment. It so happened that brushes are not my thing. I'm more into doing airbrushing, working with spray paint. I want society to benefit from my work. I want everyone to enjoy it.
Чтобы работа приносила, скажем так, не индивидуальную пользу, а было полезно для общества, то есть чтобы наслаждаться могли всем. И фасады заведений.
That includes facades of public institutions, entertainment establishments, facades of children's camps and schools. I want the streets to be colorful.
Лагерей, школ, то есть, ну, как бы, чтобы краски были на улице.
В принципе, приходят с разным образованием и без него. Ну, то есть нету такого прям специализированного.
By and large, they come with all kinds of education or without it. There is no specialization for working with spray paint. It's a separate technique, not a classical one. No educational institutions teach that. But the skills that are taught in classical school, in academies, colleges, can be applied in street art, muralism, graffiti.
В училищах, то есть это можно применимо уже в уличном искусстве, то есть в мурализме, граффити. Если кто-то видит себя только вот...
If someone only sees themselves as a graffiti artist, painting fonts, they're basically just honing their skills on the streets.
Если кто-то хочет уже...
But if someone wants to make actual complete images, they need to read up on some literature if they're self-taught, or if they have an academic education but still have a hard time doing that.
Если у него что-то не получается, то есть или кто-то приходит, да, действительно с академическим образованием. Образование у меня высшее экономическое, но к рисунку это абсолютно не.
I have a higher economic education. It has nothing in common with drawing, not even mentioning the fact that I spent every lecture drawing in my notebook, the back pages.
Подходили, допробовали, старались.
We just went out and tried. The scale is the only difference, and the only difficulty is to transfer the scale of the image. When something didn't work out, we simply turned to literature or teachers.
Если что-то не получалось, тогда обращался уже к литературе или к учителям, которые преподают, допустим.
Я думаю, что, конечно же, решает опыт, решает...
I think that experience is the deciding factor, the fact that a person practices every day drawing the same lines.
какие-то одни и те же линии. Но опять же,
But again, if they can't see, if they don't have a built-in eye gauge, they probably won't see the right place to draw the line. You can learn to copy just by practicing persistently, but I believe that's a gift after all.
Наверное, все-таки это где-то заложено.
But for the most part, I improved my skills just because I kept drawing all the time. It all started with graffiti, with spray paint. Naturally, I wanted to try something else in the future.
Использовали краски алкидные. В дальнейшем, конечно, хотелось пробовать что-то еще, и мне тогда...
Then my parents got me an airbrush.
А я не знал, как им пользоваться.
I had no idea how to use it, but I knew there was a guy in Vyshgorod who did airbrushing, had painted a car. I tried to find his number, and eventually I did. I invited him to my place so he would explain to me how that thing works.
Как пользоваться этим всем делом. Ну, собственно, так я и
That's how I met Volodymyr.
И мы начали там вместе
We started painting together, and I suggested to him that we do something together, and we decided to form our creative group, Uptown Team.
Uptown Team.
Where does my experience and knowledge come from? At one time, my friend and I worked in Crimea, near Foros. We were painting the walls in a children's camp. And at the time, students from a branch of our academy had been interns there. The dean looked at us and asked where we learned to work like that, and what did we graduate from. We said that it was nowhere, that we were self-taught. She said it was cool and asked if we want to study, get an education and a degree certificate. We agreed. We came there, passed the exams, got in, studied, and got our degrees. I grew up learning to draw from Marvel comic books, which were a rarity back then. I didn't seem to have any problems. At first, I had a lot of fun. I wanted to draw. I wanted to learn, develop, and improve my technique. We looked at the works of the classics, the works of world-famous graffiti artists, learned from their experience, because from where else? There was no internet back then. In my opinion, it mostly depicts social topics, some socially important things, but they don't literally state whatever is on the artist's mind. It's usually abstract. It shows how an artist sees and perceives it and displays that on the wall or canvas. I like realism the most. I want large-scale projects. The two of us work together. Maxim and I have a common vision. It's important to put across an idea. We don't really consider what people want to see because there are lots of them. There are also lots of opinions, and while some might say that they like our work, others could say that it's not that good. The most important thing is to convey what we like. Obviously, it begins with the selection of the wall and the layout. The layout probably goes first, and then the wall. Then we buy the raw materials, paint, then we prepare, make the outlines, and then we fill it. I enjoy the process of applying paint the most, so much that I lose sense of time. Our first one was when we bought a can of paint and painted the 3 letters RPB, 2 meters high with brushes. That was our very first team. We spent almost 3 days on that work. We bought 1 can of spray paint and we had to split the cost between all of us at the time and used it to make an outline. My favorite styles? I can't say anything definite, but I really like working on complicated works and putting social works onto walls, because that's self-development, and I always want to prove to myself how much I can do in terms of difficulty. What do I enjoy when creating a piece of work? Well, like any specialist or professional, it's most likely the result. I also enjoy the process itself occasionally, but sometimes it's just something I have to do because it's work after all. My first work in the street happened when I was in the 10th grade. My friend and I had an idea to dub some graffiti. There were concrete fences and steps behind our apartment building. So we grabbed whatever we had, like leftover floor and fence paint, asked our parents for money to buy the rest, and used brushes and rollers to finish our first work. Professional spray paint cans were out of our financial range back then. Yes, there is a community of artists in Ukraine who communicate with one another. Everyone knows each other and who does what, and we help each other when someone falls a bit behind on the schedule. I hope we'll be allowed to paint houses in Kyiv, in Ukraine legally, that they will let us develop and provide us with facades on which to create our projects.